Hello and welcome to Dad and Swebb Talk Sports. I'm Swebb.
And I'm Dad.
And we are the dad and daughter duo talking about all of our favorite sports moments from the week. Dad, how's it going?
It's going okay, so I can't complain.
Can't complain.
Can't
I have a lot to
complain.
complain about this week.
What are you complaining about, Sweat? What's the matter?
Well, we're going to put a pin in the Knicks season shortly here. But what's been going on with you over the past week? Or past few days, actually?
Past few days, I saw your niece play 4 lacrosse games. Got burnt up in the sun. My face got darker, my hair got whiter.
At least you have hair, you know?
That's true. See, that's why I can't complain, Sweat.
You're almost the color of your polo there.
And then
How'd she look on the field?
she looked okay. This was her first time ever in any kind of competition of any kind that had a scoreboard and where people were actually trying to win. So for taking that into consideration, she did pretty good.
Okay, good. That's what I like to hear. And then what else is going on?
Then I got in the car after that and drove 6 hours down to Florida. And I'll be down here.
You drove or mom drove?
Huh?
You drove or mom drove?
We split it.
What was the split?
We split it.
90-10?
No.
Mom to you?
No.
80-20. It was definitely 80-20.
Oh, man. So I'll be working from down here for a week and then head back to South Carolina for a ballet recital.
Okay, well, I love it. Thanks for asking. I'm doing okay.
Yeah, how are you doing, Sweat?
Mom was up in New York this past weekend for a quick 48 hours. So we went to the ballet on Thursday, which was great. We ended up going to the ballet, had a great time. The show was amazing. We had a delicious Italian feast for dinner prior to the show. Able to hop in the first cab we saw after the show was over and get back to my apartment so that we could get there in time to watch the fourth quarter of the Knicks game. So we were able to see Game 5, which was a good one. Mm-hmm. And we also did a little afternoon tea at Bergdorf Goodman's on Friday afternoon, which was very lovely.
Afternoon tea at Bergdorf Goodman.
Oh, yes. And it was packed, but we had a little view of Central Park. We got to walk through the store, which had a ton of beautiful items for purchase. The food was okay, but Mom loved the tea, and it was just a nice experience. So we spent a good amount of time together. And then we went out to dinner. We went and got mussels at this place called Flex Mussels that specializes in seafood for dinner. So it was a good 48 hours.
I can imagine how much that all cost. What did your mother buy in Bergdorf Goodman?
We only bought food, so you're off scot-free. But this was obviously before the Knicks season ended. If I would have gone after the season, I probably would have dabbled in a little retail therapy.
Well, now it's time to get down to business and fix this team for next year.
Well, let's talk about it because the Knicks, man, Thursday, they are who we thought they were. Thursday was a great time Mom and I had at the ballet. I get home, I'm checking the score during intermission. They're winning by 20. Life is good. Get home, watch the fourth quarter. They look great. And then Saturday comes. And I'm not even sure that they got on the plane to Indianapolis.
The 2 games they won.
Their defense certainly didn't.
The 2 games they won, they played great defense. The 4 games they lost, they were horrible on defense. That told the whole story.
The Knicks end up losing the series 4-2. They lose on Saturday, 125-108, unfortunately. But they didn't look good. I could tell that it wasn't. Of course, they've played on the edge all season long, coming back from big deficits, but you could just tell that they didn't have it. Too many turnovers, missing free throws in key moments of the game, and certainly not playing any defense. And Indiana had something like 31 points off of turnovers, off of Knicks turnovers. So sadly, that series comes to an end. The season comes to an end. It was still a great season. It's tough to get it out because when you get to the final 4 teams in the NBA and you feel like you have a chance to win and a lot of the heavy favorites are out, you can't help but be disappointed. But they get to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years. This is the first season with some of their key pieces, and Karl Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges. We'll get into the play of the starting five and what moves need to be made here. But each year, the Knicks are getting better. So there are some positives to take from this, although it doesn't feel like that. So let's dive into it. What's your assessment of the team as it currently stands? There are a few guys that are free agents, none of the key pieces for the Knicks. But the draft will be on June 25th and June 26th, and the Knicks, obviously having traded away 5 first-round draft picks for Mikal Bridges, they will have the 50th, 5-0 pick in the NBA draft. So you're not looking to get an impact player on June 26th, which will be the second round of the NBA draft.
And Brooklyn, who they traded these picks to, has 4 first-round picks. If they don't mess that up and they hit on those picks, in about 2 to 3 years, they're going to be dynamite.
Well, we'll see what happens with Brooklyn. The Knicks are going to have to make some moves in offseason trades and signing some free agents. Just as we look at the roster in terms of who's a free agent, we're primarily talking about the bench. Cameron Payne's a free agent, Precious Achiuwa, Landry Shamet, DeLon Wright, PJ Tucker. They're all unrestricted free agents. It's a weird feeling having watched the last few games of the Eastern Conference Finals, because Tom Thibodeau made it seem like the Knicks had no bench. And then all of a sudden, you get to a point where you're down 2-0, and all of a sudden these guys start coming off the bench and being effective. So Cameron Payne, not going to re-sign him. Precious Achiuwa, I'm not sure that he wants to be re-signed. I would think he wants a little bit more playing time than he's been given here in New York. When he's played really well and pleasantly surprised, played good defense, rebounded, and even showed a little bit of an offensive touch. PJ Tucker was more of a full feel-good personality guy on this roster. But what do the Knicks do with Landry Shamet and DeLon Wright?
If I was them, I would bring back Shamet because he can shoot. Mm-hmm. And he knows how to play the game. And he's been on a bunch of different teams, but he can really shoot the ball. And he knows how to play the game. And he's not that old. He's probably on the shorter side of 30, probably late 20s. Wait a second, I got the roster right here.
He's 28.
28, yeah. He hasn't been around that long. What I would do, they need more shooters. They have no salary cap space. Do you want to do something radical and really?
Well, it will walk us through some options. What's the radical option in your opinion?
The Greek Freak in Milwaukee supposedly wants to get traded. He doesn't see a path forward. They have an old roster. He's only 30. And he knows, and they don't have a lot of draft picks because they've traded off a lot of draft picks. So they would probably be, and he's been a good citizen there. He's done everything they've asked. He's helped them win a championship. If he said he wanted to come to the Knicks, they'll probably facilitate that. What would you give up? The Knicks don't have draft picks to give up, so they'd have to give up position players. Would you give up Towns and Hart? Would you give up Towns and the salaries have to match? Okay. Would you give up Towns and Bridges?
I would give up Towns and Hart, Towns and Bridges, Towns, Hart and Bridges after what I saw in this postseason. I think the big question here is would Milwaukee give up Giannis for Towns and Hart or Towns and Bridges or all three?
The way the NBA works now, when these guys said they want to get traded, they traded. Bridges wanted to get traded. That's why Brooklyn traded him to the Knicks.
But the Knicks had 5 first-round draft picks to give up for him.
Yeah, but Milwaukee's not going to want to rebuild totally. When you take all draft picks back for star player, now you're at the bottom of the barrel, and it's a 3-4 year build-up. I don't think they're going to want to do that.
So let's talk through this roster because the starting five, we have Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, and
Now with Giannis, you get a top defensive player, a top scorer, and a top citizen. He's a class guy. You're not going to have any problems with him. And he's 6'11", 7 feet tall.
listen, I know I was a Bucks fan one season about 10 years ago because the Knicks had been disappointing me for so every year. So I decided to pick another team at random, and the Bucks it was. So I know what kind of player Giannis is. NBA champion, 2-time MVP. I think he's only 30, maybe just
He's
turned
30.
31 30.
He's 30.
He's a good citizen. I think either way, we've got good guys on the roster. We've also got, and he's a great guy as well. So that part to me is like for like. What we saw and what Indiana really exposed is that the Knicks defense is terrible. And they can turn it on, but for the most part, the lights are off. And it's trouble guarding the pick and roll. Karl Anthony Towns is a defensive liability. Jalen Brunson is a defensive liability. And I would say Josh Hart and Mikal Bridges aren't that great defensively either. So you've got two guys that are subpar defensively. You've got two guys that are average, can kind of show up in key points of games. And that doesn't really, and then you've got OG Anunoby, who's an all-NBA defensive player. So the challenge here is because Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson are so deficient defensively, you got to find some balance in here. Bless you. I think any Knicks fan would take Giannis into this starting lineup. I think I'm done with the Josh Hart experiment. I love him as a person. He's been a fun spark plug of a player over the past couple seasons. He certainly at times played like 40-plus minutes a game when we needed him to, but he is not bringing anything on the court that makes the Knicks better. He's doesn't really play that great of defense. He can grab some rebounds at key moments, but he can't shoot. So you have a guy that you essentially can leave open. So he's not a starting player in the NBA as far as I'm concerned. Certainly not on this roster. The other two key pieces in this lineup that are still on the team are Mitch Robinson and Deuce McBride. Deuce McBride has been inconsistent. He's a little bit young, but he is inconsistent. He plays better defense, and he can shoot. But there are times where he does look awful on the court, and that showed itself in the Indiana series as well. So these are your 7 guys that you're really working with. If you bring in a guy like Giannis and you get rid of Karl Anthony Towns and Bridges or Hart, you still need some more depth. If you're able to sign Shamet, he comes back. He just posted on Instagram that he loved this past season being a Knick. You still need some other pieces in there, and mainly guards who can defend and also shoot.
See, this is the problem. When you get to the top of the salary cap or exceed the salary cap, and you have a bunch of players that are making $50, $40 million, now you're locked in, and it cuts down the amount of moves you can make. And then when you trade away all your draft picks, this is why the Lakers haven't been able to win. This is why certain teams, when you get so many guys a few guys on the roster right at the top, that's what Golden State's problem is. So now you have to get very strategic on who you can trade. And you're out of draft picks, so forget that.
I've heard and seen a lot of Knicks fans say we got to trade everyone.
No.
We got to get rid of Tom Thibodeau. And the reality is, as we started the episode off, the Knicks have been improving every year. But there are some changes that need to be made. It's just a matter of, I don't think you need to blow up the whole thing. You get to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years. You don't need to blow up the whole thing. Could an Ariel Hukporti develop this off season, become that piece that maybe Precious Achiuwa was for the Knicks, and then you're able to. And Tom Thibodeau, we talked about this. You can't be too proud as a coach. You got to start changing things up. I'm not on the board for firing him, but you've got to be a lot more malleable with who you have, because he made us think that the Knicks had no bench players. And then when these guys come in, they were very effective against Indiana when we needed them to be.
Yeah, but compare that to Indiana's bench players.
But
Some of
here's
their
the
bench
thing.
players were scoring 15 points a game, playing great defense.
Of course. But, and I didn't watch Indiana games all year round, but I would think if you play guys throughout the course of an 82-game season, they get more confident, and then they're ready to go by the time you get to the playoffs. You can't start playing these guys in the Eastern Conference Finals and think that they're going to be the magic recipe for success here. So it's a little bit of, like, stop playing guys. And I know you call me the minutes police along with other people, but here it's a comedy of errors with what has happened and how the season has ended, because Tom Thibodeau doesn't like to mix up the lineups, so guys aren't really given a chance unless someone gets hurt. That's a key player in the rotation. So now you've got guys that aren't getting minutes, and then as you need guys in the Eastern Conference Finals because it's a track meet playing against the Indiana Pacers. Now you've got guys that aren't even as comfortable playing with each other, and they're just doing what they can, trying to step in and play with each other. That offense, when you had Shamet, Wright, McBride, Hart, and Mitchell Robinson out there, occasionally they had Karl Anthony Towns in there wasn't enough offense, right? But you can't really fault these guys because it's mostly bench players. But if they had played together throughout the course of the season, then hey, maybe it works a little bit more, instead of it being like a car that you've left in the garage for 6 months and now you're trying to start it, and you're really trying to push on the key a little bit and you're getting the exhaust coming out and there's no juice.
I used to have a car like that.
I never had a car like that. Luckily,
Yeah.
Luckily, I'm young enough.
Like
Yes.
Yeah. Right. I think you only bought one car your whole life.
You know what? Yes, that is true. It was a good one, though. It was a BMW. So it was a BMW, okay?
Yeah. And you were given the other cars that you drove.
Right. Life is good when you're given cars. But, it's like when I haven't gone for a run in 6 months and then I decide that I want to go out and run 3 miles, it doesn't always come that easily. And as I get older, the bones, the knees, the feet, everything starts hurting a little bit. And I'm like, if I just run a few times a week all year round, we're good. If you play the guys on the bench throughout the course of the season, it makes it a little bit easier in those high pressure situations for them to be a little bit more cohesive.
They got to upgrade the talent, okay? Those guys sitting on that bench over there in Indiana, McConnell, he was a star at Arizona, okay? He's a bench player for them. The other kid from Gonzaga, he was a star at Gonzaga. What's the guy's name, the guard that locked up Brunson in the last game?
Are you talking about Nembhard?
Yeah, Nembhard. He was a star at Gonzaga, okay? Yeah, he's coming off the bench.
No, he was starting. The first game, Nembhard starts. So does Nesmith. Yes.
Okay, last year he came off the bench. This year. Oh.
Mathburn was their bench player that really turned it on.
He was a star at Vanderbilt. He was a high draft pick by the Celtics a few years ago. And then the Celtics never played him. They didn't have room for him. What does he do? He winds up on Indiana, and he's a key guy. He won that first game. He won that game 1 with all those threes he was
That
shooting.
was Nesmith. Nesmith won that first game.
Nesmith. He was a star at Vanderbilt.
But I'm talking about Mathburn, who
he was a star in Arizona.
He was the one that was playing dirty in games 4, 5, and 6.
He was another high first-round draft pick that was a star at Arizona, stayed there for 1 or 2 years, and Indiana picked him up early in the draft. These guys aren't scrub. These guys are all top guys.
I saw it with my own eyes. So if there's one thing that I can say, it's I do trust the front office, because they've been showing that each year the team is getting better. They're able to get a guy like Jalen Brunson. They're able to make the trade for Karl Anthony Towns. I think at the end of the day, when you look at the way that Minnesota kind of crashed out of the Western Conference Finals, we were about even in terms of that trade. At the end of the day, when the season's all over, we look at the totality of both seasons, we were about even because Julius Randle ended up being what Knicks fans have seen before towards the end of that series as well. So the challenge is obviously Karl Anthony Towns doesn't play great defense, and he gives you great offense, but he also is just a headache at times. So are there any key free agents that I would love for the Giannis thing to work out? I'm also going to set my expectations, right? I got to keep my expectations tempered because I don't want to be, they've already put me through too much all postseason. The highs, the lows, down by 20, up, all the, like, I need to keep my expectations tempered. I would love to get Giannis, but any key free agents?
Before you get to the free agents, what they have to do is develop some of the young players, not the veteran guys that were on the bench. Guys like Hakporti, like
Kolek can be a spark plug.
Kolek, guys like McCullough. Who? McCullough was a star at Kansas. Got hurt in his senior year. The Knicks picked him up in the second round. He didn't play part of that. He was out for a few months to start the season. Then they sent him to the G League. Okay? He's a real good player. He's 6'6". He's a small forward. He's 210. He can shoot the ball. He can really play. If he's healthy, that's a guy. Now, when he came back after he finished the G League season, he was sitting on street clothes. He was wearing street clothes on the bench. And then the other kid that they drafted in the first round last year,
Daddy.
He played a little bit, but he just needs experience. I would take those 4 guys and work those guys also, I'm sure they will, and try to develop those guys into at least decent bench players.
Absolutely. That's the name of the game. I think that that's something, if we look at last year's draft and the way that those players, when given opportunities, played or when healthy, McCullough was having an amazing G League season. I think there were a few games he scored 30. Kolek at times was playing in the G League and coming up and playing with the Knicks and was crushing it. So I think that they need to develop, yes, but the sample size is too small to say, okay, we're going to take this same exact team minus a few of the guys that are free agents and run it back and expect to get better. The reality is the Celtics, now you have Jason Tatum, he's not going to play all season because he gets hurt at the very end of the season. He might play towards the end of next season if he can heal quickly, but it's tough, right? Right. So the East is
that's
now...
a 1-year rehab on that.
The East is now wide open. You're going to have a team like the Detroit Pistons, who we struggled against in the first round. They're going to get better because now they have what's his face from Purdue that was out with a broken leg and then it came back, or it will be back next season. We saw him play in Connecticut. Ivy.
Yeah, his mother's the head coach of the Notre Dame team.
So he's a player. He's a starter that was out towards the end of the season. Detroit's going to get better because they've been developing those players, right? Cleveland, I've got to believe that they'll continue to play as well as they did. But it really is going to be the Knicks have a legitimate chance to be where they've been the past couple of seasons, 2 or 3. They can even vie with the right off-season moves and development of the players that are currently on the roster for that top team in the East. The East is open.
They have to go out and get another veteran big man that can play defense and rebound. And then they have to develop these 4 young players they had from last year and potentially whoever they pick up this year in the draft in the second round, and develop these guys and get a little more diversified scoring so it's not all on Towns and Brunson. Then when you do that, and remember, you're going to have Robinson next. Hopefully he stays healthy, and you have him all of next year, and he makes a big difference defensively and rebounding. and then you can cut Towns' minutes down a little bit. You don't have to depend on him to score as much and give up as much on the defensive end.
So you don't have to name it now if you don't have it, but I'd love to in the next couple of weeks talk through who are some free agents, and we'll start to see once the NBA season is over, because the free agent signings and trades and stuff will start happening once the season officially ends. But some names
They don't
that
really
you would be
have cap
interested
space, salary cap space, to delve into the free agent market unless they make a trade and offload some of their salary to load up others. But you're taking a chance now. So if you get rid of too many veteran players, that's how you slip. If you have to depend too much on the young players, and you get rid of 2 or 3 veteran players, and I don't mean the veteran players that are on the bench. I'm talking about the veteran starters. Then you're taking a chance.
I think guys like OG Anunoby and Jalen Brunson are safe. I would think it's tough to say unless a really appealing trade like a Giannis trade comes along that the Knicks would get rid of trade away Karl Anthony Towns or Mikal Bridges after one season. Josh Hart, I think, is open, but how much room do you really get trading away a guy like that?
He makes about $15 to $18 million. He makes he makes $18 million.
So yeah, you could get some good money if you're able to offload him. But he showed some weaknesses in this postseason that I think.
My guess is the only guy that they possibly might trade is Hart, and they have to pick up a veteran big man, not a superstar, just somebody who can play defense, rebound, and rough it up, just like what Robinson does. If you have 2 guys like that, then you don't have to depend on Towns for as much defense. And then develop those 4 young players they drafted last year and bring those guys along so at least they can contribute on a nightly basis. Not be stars, just contribute. They have to improve on the margins.
I would say that this free agent market, and it's tough with the economics of the NBA salaries because some of these salaries really get out of control. But Kelly Oubre from the 76ers, I don't know what he gets on the market, but he's a free agent. He's a great player, can shoot, plays the combo guard forward. Could be interesting. Quentin Grimes. He got a lot of playing time in Philadelphia once, the team was sucked, but he ended up averaging 14.6 points per game.
And he's a good defensive player. And he has some size. And now he has like 4 years of NBA experience. But would he want to come back to the Knicks?
He's not going to be he's not going to be a starter.
You know what the Knicks need? They need a real legitimate starting 2 guard that can handle the ball and shoot and score. Because if always depending on Brunson to run plays, it's too much for one guy.
Well, Quentin Grimes is a restricted free agent, so he might not be available. But Kelly Oubre, unrestricted free agent. There's some guys available. We obviously don't want LeBron James or Kyrie Irving. We'll pass on James Harden. Malik Beasley is an unrestricted free agent from Detroit.
He's a good shooter. He's a real good shooter.
And then you've got some older veterans. I'm not sure how much he has left in his legs. Chris Middleton, he's 33, but he can shoot. He can't play defense probably at this point.
Shot.
Duncan Robinson from the Heat. Forward from the Heat.
Oh, yeah, from Michigan. From Miami.
Yep.
He's a good shooter. He's a good shooter.
There are some
and
guys.
What is he, like 6'7", 6'8"?
He's what is he? 6'7".
Yeah.
31.
He's a real good shooter. I would take him. That's the kind of guy you need. And he knows how to play. He's not going to give you any problems. You play him 15 to 20 minutes a night. He comes down, knocks down a bunch of threes.
There's some good guys available.
But he's going to want to get paid. You're not getting him for $3 million. Of
course. Well, I think the biggest thing is you got to get rid of Josh Hart and open up some salary.
A guy like that makes like at least $10 million, 10 to 15.
Well, Josh Hart's at 18. You got some guys coming off the books, but they're all bench players, so they're not making a ton of money. You don't need a superstar.
No.
You just need some really good, effective pieces.
Indiana does. What superstars do Indiana have?
It depends on the day. Tyrese Halliburton.
That's
Pascal
not a
Siakam.
That's not a
Pas-
superstar.
Pascal Siakam is a low-key, an underrated superstar.
He scored 8 points in the game 5.
But he's a matchup nightmare because he's
Oh, I
quick,
know.
he can rebound, he can score, he can shoot that mid-range jumper. He's
I
a
know.
tough matchup.
Hey, if you have a player like him at the power forward, that's why Randall kept making the All-Star team. You have a player like that at the forward position, because nobody can match up with those guys.
To me, he's more dynamic than Julius Randle because he's lanky and
He doesn't rebound as well.
So there are decisions that need to be made, but I have turned the page to baseball season officially. So that's what I'm looking forward to. The Yankees were able to salvage a game against the Dodgers on Sunday, winning 7-3. They'll play Tuesday night against Cleveland and then later in the week against Boston at home. And I've turned the page. I put my Knicks starter jacket that I was telling you about that I was able to wear on Saturday. Saturday night, I had to go to a housewarming, and I'm sitting there on the floor watching the game, people talking, having conversations, taking up couch space while the game's going on. Luckily, half of the group was very interested in the game. And by the fourth quarter, everyone knew what time it was, and everyone locked in. But I was wearing a Knicks T-shirt, and then I was wearing the Knicks starter jacket over the T-shirt. So I was double Knicksed that night. And, then it's like I have to go out around New York City, and I'm double Knicksed. It's like me and some guy hugged in the bar. It was just like, yeah, I know, it was sad. We just cried, and then I went about my day.
Timeout. Game 5, you go to a ballet.
Yes.
Game 6, you go to a party.
But the party ended up being a Knicks watching party because of the fact that the game was on. So I was firmly planted in front of the TV the whole party. I should have gone back to the ballet.
You're like...
But the reality is, with the way that they played, I could have been dancing on stage and they wouldn't have won the game.
Your level of commitment...
So I put away the Knicks jacket. I washed it yesterday when I did laundry, put it away in the coat closet, jammed it in there, and took out the Yankee one. So we got the Yankee one now out, ready to go, and that's where we're at. Today I'm wearing a mozzarella sticks sweatshirt just to bring some positive vibes because mozzarella sticks make me happy.
Why did you have to jam the Knicks jacket into the closet?
Because this apartment has no closet space, among other issues.
Maybe you have too
like
many,
the price.
Maybe you have too many clothes.
Well, I also have a Christmas tree in there. And ornaments, tennis racket, bunch of things in there.
Oh, you play tennis too?
Oh, well, I've been playing pickleball more than anything. But I haven't played actually this year yet. So, Dad, what are you looking forward to?
What am I looking forward to?
Are you going to go swimming while you're down in Florida?
I'm working all day, Swebb.
Are you going to go for a walk after your work day is done?
A walk? I don't think, to the car, to...
Just remember, when the car's been in the garage for too long and you try and start it, doesn't always start. So maybe you want to get out and really work those joints, work those muscles, get the heartbeat flowing a little.
Oh, Saturday after I was watching your niece play lacrosse, 2 lacrosse games, I went over and saw that young fella play baseball game, tried their big baseball tournament over at this place called Shipyard Park here in South Carolina. And the kid that I told you was a stud a few weeks ago struggled a little bit. And I was sitting there watching him, and I said, I think I know what the problem is. So I've been thinking all day. I've been thinking about I can't wait to get back up there so I can go over to their house and kind of show them what tweaks have to be made. I'm into fixing problems, Swebb. I'm not going to
Listen,
have this kid
let's make
frustrated.
sure they don't think that you're the weirdo showing up at their house and
No,
that's
I'll
going to their
call
games,
first.
all right?
I don't even know. He lives around the
Like,
corner from
it's
me, brother.
2025. You can't just show up at someone's house
I'm
and
not
say,
gonna
hey,
just show up.
I got the solution for you.
They were happy that I was.
Want to buy a watch?
They were happy that I was at the game, and I want to help the kid.
Okay.
And I figured out some problems, and we can get
Be
that squared
careful.
away.
Be careful.
I'll
with,
give you an update on that.
trying to be a fixer, an unsolicited fixer.
He was not
Okay.
unsolicited.
All right. Well, is there any, do you want to leave us as we close out the Knicks season?
Always
wanna
look
lead
for
us?
solutions, no matter how grim it gets, whether it's sports or something much more important in life. Look for solutions. Don't wallow in sorrow and in problems. Look for solutions, and it lifts your spirit up immensely. That's my tip of the week, Swebb.
And have a team in every sport so that you can just turn the page to the next season.
You always have
So
something
you
to
can
look
put
forward
one
to.
jacket away and you can take another one out. Okay?
You have something to look forward to. If you're only following one team in one sport, the season's over. Now what do I do?
The Jets sweatshirt is deeply in the back of my closet. Okay? That won't be seeing any light for a while, but have multiple teams, look for solutions. Thank you for joining us. That concludes this week's episode of Dad and Swebb's Talk Sports. Be sure to follow us at Dad and Swebb on Instagram and X. Subscribe on YouTube and Rumble, and share this episode with a friend. We will see you next week.
So long.
Thank you for tuning in to Dad and Swebb Talk Sports, the show where we cover all of our favorite sports moments from the past week. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and Rumble, and follow us at Dad and Swebb on Instagram and X. See you next week.